Hello, this is Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs. Today I'm talking with Reverend Renee Kesler, who is with the Beck Cultural Exchange Center, and we're going to be talking about the importance of Juneteenth. Why is that such an important day, not only for Black Americans, but for all Americans?
June 19, 1865 is the oldest known date of the last enslaved people to be emancipated. And specifically, it talks about Galveston, Texas. This is 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, January of 1863. So what we're talking about really is that it took 2.5 years for those who were enslaved to find out or to be set free or emancipated on that day. Likewise, throughout the country, there are various dates and times where that news traveled or where that news was actually facilitated. And in Knoxville, we commemorate the 8th of August, which is really the state of Tennessee, 1863, about 6 months after the Emancipation Proclamation, that then military governor Andrew Johnson is going to emancipate his own enslaved in that moment in Greenville, Tennessee. So that was a huge turning point, I think, in our state's history. And so we commemorate that specific date. When those enslaved people found out that they were emancipated, many of them will move out of that area. And so they'll migrate to different areas of our country. But in so doing, they still take the traditions and the history with them. So there will be many people in Kentucky, for example, in Virginia and other places who also commemorate the 8th of August, not necessarily because that was their state's date, but because that was the tradition and the heritage of the people who moved there. So likewise, Juneteenth becomes all of our dates. We take the tradition and we remember.
We often forget that segregation only ended a couple generations ago. And people might be shocked to realize things like here in Knox County, the Chilhowie Park was only open one day a year for Black folks, and things like that.
That August 8th date became so significant. I've talked to people who remember the 8th of August. They remember going to Chilhowie Park on that day, African Americans. It was like Christmas, if you will, and in many instances, some have said. But when we went on that day, there were white people there. And I think it shows how ridiculous segregation was. So if you looked at the 8th of August, perhaps that date should have been the model for what should have been happening. I want people to know, to appreciate and understand the freedoms that we have today, how we didn't always have them, and is there something else we can do to leave this world better than we found it? Because I think there's always room for improvement. And I love the way James Baldwin says it. He says it like this. He says, if you're not afraid to look back, then nothing you're facing can frighten you. So we look back on history so we can learn, so that as we go forward in the future, we're better people, we're better for one another, and we leave the world better than we found it. So I think Juneteenth is an opportunity for us to treat each other better. Yeah.
That's awesome. So how do people find out more about those events and the Beck Center?
Absolutely, beckcenter.net. That's it. beckcenter.net on the website. Check us out. Every week we send out a Beck e-newsletter. We just need you to connect with us.
Renee, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for everything that you do here, and good luck with everything that you have going on around the Juneteenth holiday.
Thank you, and thank you for all that you do and for highlighting this important event.